So this is as a map of how, originally when I used it as a hypnosis map, I didn't have this middle piece, consciousness. Consciousness is important. I'm going to say why when we get onto an example of Paul's road rage. So Paul, what's the first thing that happens? What's a prototype situation? What's the first thing that happens when road rage?
First thing that happens outside or inside?
First thing that happens outside for a start.
Somebody just does be in the way.
Somebody
just gets in my way.
They get in my way. Do you hear that? Whose way is it? Clearly Paul's way. They don't get in the way, they get in my way. Right?
Can we start now?
Right. So even though I'm just asking Paul what triggers it, we're already starting to see something about Paul's belief structures. See, unconsciously in that moment, Paul has a lot of entitlement around that particular space, that particular whatever, right? It's Paul's. It's not the other guy's, right? It's Paul's. So we start to hear something of Paul's beliefs already, right? Get in my way. So when they're in your way, Paul.
And they're going too slow.
And they're going too slow. Too slow. They are going too slow, right? There's already judgments happening at this level. They're going too slow might start being a mind flow thing. They're going too slow. This might be the thought.
The mind flow goes to, and I'm in a hurry.
And you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen if you don't get there in time? You may not go that far.
Yeah.
This may be a content-free, I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of rules going on here underneath the surface that the Paul must get somewhere by a certain time. The Paul's time must not be wasted. Right, I'm just guessing this stuff, right?
Pretty close.
I'm guessing it, right? Paul's time is sacrosanct. So you know, and then I'm going to guess as well that they probably start taking on certain characteristics, like as being some kind of a, I don't know what they are, the equivalent of a wanker or something.
Well, fucking tourist.
A fucking tourist, right? Okay, so. Right, yeah.
Sightseers, you know.
Yes, tourists, sightseers, just right. So this is what's going on in the mind flow, beliefs, mind flow. So what happens to you, Paul? You're all relaxed and stuff. Oh no, right, okay. So you got some physiological response
I
here.
could feel it when you were talking through.
Right.
You just fuck my hand is tightened.
How's-
On the wheel.
What happens with your breathing?
I stop.
You stop. That's very, very classic of a toxic trance. Very, you know, you see that across the board. Stopping breathing. Or the breathing becomes shallow. People can't stop breathing for long because they will, you know, they need that oxygen and stuff. But the breathing becomes shallow and blocked and locked. And it's a very common thing with toxic trances. I bet your breathing gets screwed with your one as well, right?
Yeah.
So these are classic physiological responses. And as such, you've just created an entire reality that you experience, right? And then you're experiencing the reality, and that validates the reality, right? Because the more you go into that, the more you experience it, people do this thing with their feelings. They see their feelings as a source of information about the world, right? So there's a likelihood on some level Paul's going to interpret his angry feelings of being evidence for the fact that someone is in his way, right? His angry feeling here is evidence for the original belief that someone's in his way, and it's evidence for all those other thoughts. The feeling becomes evidence. You get the same thing, say, social anxiety is one that's always been of interest to me. I work with a lot of people in that area. I suffered greatly from social anxiety myself for many, many years. My big fear, one of my classic mind flow pieces, was what if I run out of things to say? The horror of running out of things to say. Or here's another one, what if they think I'm stupid? That was another one, you know, that was all part of my mind flow. It was based on the idea that I was socially incompetent, was a key belief, right? that I was possibly boring, possibly stupid. Almost definitely boring and stupid would have been the deep down thing. So my beliefs are I'm boring, I'm stupid, I'm an inherently unlikable person. So I'm going to get in there and then I'm probably going to say boring and stupid things and run out of things to say, which is what a boring person does, it has nothing to say. So there's my mind flow. My physiology would lock up, shoulders would come up, protective, chest would collapse, breathing would be awkward, I'd look awkward, I'd feel terrible. And of course, all I would be able to think and see and feel at the moment was the reality of it happening, which would reinforce the fact that I'm socially inept and unlikable. Because I'm not relaxed and calm, fluid and charismatic like I imagine I should be. So the whole thing goes in and the loop kicks around and it's self-reinforcing and self-validating. Consciousness. Consciousness. I sit here in the middle, but that's not where it stays. Consciousness mostly, imagine this spinning and creating a kind of centripetal force, and that goes, and consciousness gets pulled into the loop. Now, Stephen Walensky, I believe, has said that trances are basically identities. In that, once you're in the trance, that's the totality of who you are in that moment. I mean, it isn't really the totality of who you are, but it might as well be. You are fully identified into that moment, into that way of being, and everything else that you are gets lost.